Okay, welcome back. We're now back from our break. Um, let's continue where we left off. We're continuing from now. I'm gonna give you 6 tips in how to make sure your child's IEP is implemented properly. When your child's individualized education program has been set in motion, how well is it working? Is the school delivering what it promised? Let's discuss that. I advise parents to check in with the teacher on a regular basis. Parent teacher conference is a very good time to take the pulse of your child's progress. But you can also check in regularly to make sure that your child's IEP is being followed to the letter. You should be sharing concerns based on what you're seeing at home. If your child spends most of his or her time in general education classroom, and his or her teacher will know if he or she is being pulled out of class to work special educators as promised with his IEP. Contact your team leader if the IEP isn't being honored. If you think the school isn't delivering all the services and supports in your child's IEP, don't sit in school. Be proactive and contact the IEP team leader. Give that person a chance to clear up any and all misunderstandings and correct any problems. The leader may appreciate your alert. If corrective action, however, is required, make sure it happens. Be friendly, but be firm. Now, if things do not improve, request a special IEP team meeting ASAP. If you take these steps above but are not satisfied with the results, you can request a special IEP meeting. You don't have to wait until next IEP meeting next year to iron out any problems. Getting the entire team together may be the only way to put your child's IEP back on track as soon as possible. Now, you should know your child's special educators and their schedules. The IEP should state what special education services your child will receive and for how many hours per week. You can ask the IEP team leader for the names of the special educators assigned to help your child. Parents, please find out what services they'll provide and on which days. I can't stress that enough. That way you can casually ask your child, did you spend some time with Miss Smith today? Your child may be able to tell you a little or a lot. Now, you need to read the progress reports, parents. Your child's IEP includes measurable annual goals. It should be able to also explain how his or her progress towards those goals are being measured when this will be reported to you. Many schools send IEP progress reports to parents when report cards are issued. So you need to find out when you can expect a progress report and mark the dates on your calendar. Carve out time to compare the IEP with how well your child is progressing. Watch, listen, and read between the lines. Parents, please keep an eye on your child's homework and classroom test scores. Is the teacher adjusting assignments as noted in the IEP? If so, is your child making progress? Ask your child if he or she is getting the accommodations that they're supposed to be getting, whether it's extra time on tests or assistive technology. Talk to your children in a way that suits their age and personality. Listen carefully to what they say or don't say about school and learning. Jot down your concerns. Now, 5 ways to boost confidence and reduce frustration with the IEP process. Are you uncertain about the IEP process and the IEP meetings? Okay, let's talk about it. Lean on a good relationship with the IEP team. There is no doubt about it. Parents must learn a lot to understand the IEP process. But you don't need to go into it alone. Do you already have a good relationship with another member of the IEP team? Maybe your child's general education teacher or the school psychologist will be willing to help you learn the ropes. You could also ask the PTA or the school to provide information sessions for parents of students with disabilities. Having a friendly guide to make the learning process a lot easier. Never, parents, I can't stress this enough. Never, ever, ever, never go to an IEP meeting alone. Maybe you already keep in touch with your child's teacher, but lots of new information is covered during a typical IEP meeting. A family member or a friend can provide an extra set of eyes and ears, plus a sense of comfort. Before the meeting, decide what role she'll play. Take notes so that you can focus on the discussion. Help you think of questions to ask during the meeting. Be sure to tell the school in advance that you're bringing a guest. Turn to trustworthy, parent-friendly resources. Become familiar with the IEP process, terminology, special education services, and your legal rights. Okay? Try to pace yourself and take time to absorb and understand the information. Relish your role as a member of the IEP team. Accept yourself as a full and equal member of your child's IEP team. The other team members may be experts in education. You're an expert on your child. The intimate knowledge that you have of your child is valuable. Share what you know about your child's development, learning experiences past and present. Watch, listen to your child, document what you observe. What's revealed to you may be the missing link that might help the IEP team to serve your child well. Parents, please keep track of all IEP timelines and deadlines. The IEP process involves many timelines and deadlines. Find out if the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act or your state requires the school district to respond to your request for an evaluation or another decision point with a certain time frame. Mark that deadline on your calendar. The reverse is true too. If you have to sign an IEP or file a complaint within a set time frame, jot it down. This can keep you from worrying and help you stay on top of things. Join a parent community for strategies and support. Build a network with other parents through our online community. I encourage you guys to do that. Through our CFF Black Parents, please build a network with other parents that may be going through the same thing as you. You can also look for other local parent groups. When families share strategies and successes, the IEP journey is so much easier to navigate. With time and experience, your confidence will grow. Five important things to do after an IEP meeting. After an IEP meeting, you need to take care of some details. These can vary from one meeting to the next. If you have any objections, parents, please, after the IEP meeting, write an email or letter to the case manager summarizing what decisions and questions came out of the meeting. Did the school agree to set up another meeting? Did you plan a request, a mediation session? By putting that in writing, you make sure everyone is on the same page and get those next steps in their calendars. Review and sign the final IEP. Review and sign the final IEP. The IEP you and your child's IEP team discuss and develop in the meeting is a draft. The school or the district will finalize the IEP after the meeting and will send you a copy to sign. Make sure you sign it and return it by the deadline they give you. Be sure to keep a copy for yourself. To be on the safe side, refer back to our checklist of things to do that we discussed earlier in our workshop. Express appreciation to your allies. Send a simple but sincere thank you note to anyone who attended the meeting with you. Let them know specifically how they made a difference. If this person is a professional who works with your child and there is a follow-up work to do, try to make it convenient. For example, you might offer to stop by the office to pick up records or reports the school has requested. Debrief your child parents. If your child didn't attend the IEP meeting, share how it went. Don't keep no secrets from your child. Be sure to mention the positive things that people said along with the challenges. Consider your child's age and maturity as you explain any changes. Describe new supports and services in concrete terms. And if your child joins you at the meeting, ask them how they are feeling. Praise them for the things done well. Start planting the seeds of self-advocacy. Update your IEP files at home. Organize all documents that will result from the IEP meeting, including a copy of the new IEP. Note any important dates, such as when progress reports are sent out on your calendar. Place the new IEP as well as the notes and documentation that you took during the meeting in your files. This is also a good time to reorganize your filing system to make it easier to use in the future. Now, hold on here, we're experiencing a few technical difficulties here. Okay. The 10 common mistakes that parents make during an IEP meeting. Believing the professionals are the only experts. Parents, this could be very intimidating to sit at a table with several educators and professionals. Professionals and educators do bring a great deal of knowledge and experience to the table. Although most parents do not have a background or degree in education, they have a great deal of knowledge and experience regarding their child. Parents are the experts in their own right as they provide historical information and a bigger picture from year to year. They know what works and does not work with their child and could be a great asset to the IEP team. Now, parents have an intuitive sense as to what's appropriate for their child. After working with parents for the last 24 years, I am amazed, even through my own personal experiences, at how parents are usually intuitively correct about what will work for their child. We encourage parents to follow their hunches and their instincts. If something does not sound right, check it out. Usually after some research, parents will discover that their hunch was probably correct. Number 2, not making requests in writing. Parents, please don't. Whenever you make a request, you put it in writing. You can tell them verbally, but you need to put it in writing. That way you have proof that you informed them of what it is that you need regarding your child. Any request that a parent makes needs to be in writing, always. There is no exceptions. This includes requests for assessments, IEP meetings, correspondence, related services, etc. Written requests are important because they initiate timelines that the school district must follow to respond to your request. Now, this also would create a paper trail, parents. This is important. This creates a necessary paper trail. When you write a letter, be sure to send it certified mail or priority mail. When you have a discussion by phone with a school official, write a letter that briefly outlines what you talked about. Documenting your conversations also prevents miscommunication. And me personally, in some states it might not be legal. You have to check to see the legality of being able to do it. I further recommend that you call the school officials on your cell phone and that you download a phone recording app so that you can have that as proof as to what kind of conversation that you had. Go back home later and listen to the recording and write it up in your letter and send it off, confirming the conversation that you had. But then that's just me. To each is their own as to how they decide to make that decision. Documenting requests such as teaching assistance, speech for the IEP committee clarifies to the committee that you're requesting what you're requesting and allows you to use your own words as opposed to the note taker paraphrasing your request. We encourage parents to type exactly what they think their child needs and list what they think is educationally necessary. This helps parents think through what they're requesting a service for their child. Have the IEP committee record the written request as part of the IEP minutes. At this point, the IEP committee has one of two choices. The committee can accept or deny the request. If the committee denies the request, then they must follow the procedural safeguards in IDEA and provide written notice of why they're denying the parent's request. This method makes it difficult for an IEP committee to tell parents no without thinking through the options. If the request is not written down, the school district is not, I repeat, not obligated to provide the service. Make sure, parents, that you write it down. I can't emphasize that enough. Number 3, not being familiar with prior notice of procedural safeguards. Okay? All sections of the procedural safeguards are important to parents. This particular section gives parents some leverage during the IEP meetings, and that section of the procedural safeguards would be 34 CFR 300.503. Now, it gives them some leverage during the IEP meetings. Whenever parents make a request for the child in the IEP meeting, the IEP committee is required under the prior notice to provide parents with written notice within a reasonable period of time. The notice must include the description of the action proposed or refused, the explanation of why the agency proposes or refuses to take the action, a description of any other options that the agency considered and the reasons why those options were rejected, a description of each evaluation procedure, test record, or report of the agency used as a basis for the proposed or refused action, a description of any other factor that is relevant to the agency's proposal or refusal. We have found many instances where a parent requests an assessment service only to have an IEP team tell the parent they cannot have it done. It cannot be done. By making all requests in writing and requiring the IEP to provide prior notice, the parents make the team accountable for its decisions. This practice also takes issues out of the emotional arenas, allowing all team members to focus on the IDEA standards. Now, requesting number 4 is requesting a related service instead of an assessment that supports the need for the related service. Many times, parents will request services such as speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, etc. in an IEP meeting. Too frequently, the IEP committee will respond by stating that the student does not need the service. We recommend that parents do not request the service, but to request the assessment that supports the need for the related service. For an example, instead of requesting speech for your child, request a speech assessment. Only a certified or licensed professional is qualified to determine if a child needs or does not need a particular related service. As in number 2, list the reasons why you think an assessment is educationally necessary for your child and submit your request to the IEP committee as part of the IEP minutes. Number 5, accepting assessment results that do not recommend the services that you think that your child needs. Sometimes parents receive assessment results that do not accurately describe their child and or recommend the amount and duration of the services to the parents think that their child needs, Under 34 CFR 30.352, Independent Education Evaluation, which is IEE, parents of a child with a disability have a right to obtain an independent evaluation at public expense if they disagree with the results of the school assessment. When the parent requests the IEE in writing, the school has one of two choices. They may either provide the IEE within a reasonable period of time, or they may take the parents to a due process hearing. When an IEE is agreed upon, the parent and the school must come to an agreement as to who is qualified to assess the student. The examiner for IEE cannot be employed by the school district. Parents should request the school district's policy on guidelines and qualifications for their examiners. Number 6, allowing the assessment information to be presented for the first time at the IEP meeting. Parents, that's a no-no. Parents are entitled to have the assessment information explained to them before the IEP meeting. We encourage parents, and we have stressed it over time, for parents to have the person who administered the assessment to give you a copy of the report and meet with them as soon as possible for them to explain the report several days before the IEP meeting. Now, by doing this enables parents to think through the information before making decisions for their child. If all IEP decisions are based on the information from the assessment, it only makes sense for the parents to be informed about the assessment results in a way that they can understand it. Number 7, accepting goals and objectives that are not measurable. Measurable goals and objectives are paramount for your child's IEP. Without measurable goals and objectives, it's very difficult to determine if your child has had a successful year. In working with parents, we've encountered many IEP goals and objectives that were not measurable. It was just ridiculous. All goals and objectives should come from assessment data. The assessment, has 4 different components. 1, a formal assessment, like the Wyatt, WIAT, or Woodcock-Johnson, or Brigance. Number 2, an informal assessment, classroom work. Number 3, teacher-parent observation. Number 4, interviews. After the information has been collected about the student, it is compiled into an assessment report. Recommendations on how to work with the student are listed toward the ends of the report. If you receive an assessment report that does not give recommendations for potential goals and objectives, the assessment is not complete. Do not accept it. After the assessment has been completed, the IEP committee then determines the student's present level of performance and states what the student is currently able to do. The goals state what the child is expected to accomplish by the end of the year. Objectives break the goals down into increments. For an example, present level of performance. Based on Brigance and classroom work, Johnny is currently able to read on a 4th grade level with 90% mastery. Okay, the goal in this will be by the end of the school year, Johnny will be able to read on a 5th grade level as measured by the Brigance and classroom work with 80% mastery. Objectives, by October 1st, Johnny will be able to read on the 4th grade level. 2nd month level with the teacher assistance as measured by the Brigance and classroom work with 80% mastery. By January 1st, without teacher assistance, Johnny will be able to read on 4th grade 6th month level as measured by the Brigance and classroom work with 80% mastery. A method of determining if your goals and objectives are measurable is to ask someone who is not on your IEP team to read them. A teacher, another parent, advocate. Then ask hypothetically, if you were to go into the classroom, what would you be able to see my child working on these goals and objectives? If someone outside your IEP team cannot answer yes, then your goals and objectives are not measurable. Number 8, allowing placement decisions to be made before IEP goals and objectives are even written. Parents, many times after the assessment is discussed, the IEP committee will determine the child's placement. Goals and objectives are always written before placement is discussed to ensure that the child is placed in the least restrictive environment. The IEP committee must determine which of these goals and objectives can best be met in the general classroom. With any remaining goals and objectives that cannot be met in general classroom, the committee determines which of these goals and objectives can be best met in general classroom with modifications and support. This line of inquiry continues until a placement options have been decided upon for all goals and objectives. The committee must always start with the LRE and then work towards a more restrictive environment only as necessary. IDEA is very clear that the IEP committee must always consider the general education classroom as the first option for students with disabilities. Number 9, allowing your child's IEP meeting to be rushed so that the school staff can begin the next child's IEP meeting. That's ridiculous. Nobody should be rushing anybody's meeting to go accommodate another. This practice is particularly common at the end of the school year when educators are frantically trying to have IEP meetings for all the students who receive special education services. IEP meetings may be held one right after the other. There is no problem with this practice as long as the members of the IEP feel that all issues have been adequately discussed. Many times, however, from my experience, a lot of parents feel rushed. And it's always important that all issues are adequately addressed before ending the IEP meeting. When the educators have not planned adequate time to address all relevant issues, request that the IEP team meet again at a more convenient time to further discuss your child's education. Number 10, not asking a lot of questions. Parents, it is so important for you to ask questions, and lots of them. That is your right, and you should. Educators use many terms and acronyms specific to special education. Parents may become confused with those terms and how they're used during the IEP meeting. This can add to the frustration that a parent may already be feeling when they do not understand what those terms or the acronyms mean. Unless a parent has a background in special education, they're not going to be expected to know the terms and acronyms. Informed decisions cannot be made when parents do not understand what is being discussed. At some point in time, we have all made mistakes, as we had just previously just discussed. We develop a habit of debriefing after every IEP meeting to discuss our performance during the meeting. We also have gradually accumulated information and developed skills and continue to trust our intuition. Now, from my experience, I have found that parents apply the suggestions that I give them while working with their IEP committee, and they do see results. It is very important that parents continue to accumulate information and develop skills related to the IEP process. Most parents feel overwhelmed by the special education process. Do not be discouraged in your pursuit to obtain the supports and services for your child's needs. We have found it very helpful to break the process down into smaller steps. When you use the suggestions that I have discussed here in the workshop, you will be that much closer to obtaining your child's free, appropriate public education. After using each suggestion that has just been discussed, pat yourself on the back for becoming an even better advocate for your child. Now, as far as trying to make sure that we have everything covered here. If there's any questions, I would like for you guys to feel free to shoot me an email. I'm more than happy. I encourage parents not to put their personal case on here, as I do believe in the confidentiality of my parents and their children. So if you have something that's more specific as it relates to your child, please to keep the confidentiality. Everybody does not need to know your business. Shoot me an email at missdreac@chapmanfamilyfoundation.org, and I will respond to you most urgently, so that I could give you my personal attention in addressing whatever information that you need to have. This concludes our preparation for our IEP workshop. I thank you for participating, and if you have, please feel free to share both parts of the video with your family and friends so that everybody could be better informed. This video will not only be posted in group, but it also will be posted on YouTube under our channel. Okay? And if you would like to have a personal copy of the sessions that we had today and previous events, please feel free to send your request via email to me, and we will make arrangements to get that information to you. This concludes our workshop for today. I thank you for your participation, and I hope that this information does help you and your family. Thank you, and do have a blessed night. Good evening.